What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Truth, coming at you one more time. Wanted to share some information, or share some of my thoughts today. What I want to talk today, it's a little bit follow up on what we were talking about the other day about investing in yourself so you can get the best possible outcome. For me, I want to go back to my history as a young man, and some of my challenges that I had, and how I changed those experiences for myself, and hopefully you can find some information in this that might be helpful, right? So for me, as a young guy, obviously all of us want to date, right? Our hormones are raging. There's a phrase: the young, dumb, and full of whatever. Um, I think that those hormones drive us to jump out there in the game before you're really ready, right? It causes us to jump out there and try to, go after, women, and we get rejected. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being rejected. You know what I'm saying? You could take it as a learning lesson, but sometimes when you're not prepared and you get rejected, it can be disheartening because, unfortunately, especially in this day and age, no one tells men why they're getting rejected, right? I mean, we could always point to what women say they want, which is the um, 6 foot, six figures, and the six pack. So they want a guy who's financially stable, and a guy who is taller and is just fit. Now, out of those three things, there's two things that you can actually do something about, right? You might not need to make six figures, but if you're showing yourself to be financially stable, means your stuff is together. You have your own spot, you have your own car, you have and you're fit. You're not looking sloppy. Your clothes look good on you. You can increase your you can definitely increase the the quantity of women that you deal with. I say that because I started off. I went in the military, and obviously a lot of us in the military can attest to it. It's really all about you know what what you say and what you do. I mean, because for the most part, we're all kind of in the same income bracket, so you really have to go off of how you dress, how you talk, your style per se, and then if you look good, really, because you're stripped down to your bare minimums, right? So if you don't have your style together, or you don't have your swag together, I mean, you could really lose out. So I mean, that's how I started off my adult life, was in the military, right? So I had to develop certain skills, which is talking, not being afraid to talk to different women, using the resources that I had to try to make the best of what I had, right? So uh, you want to be able to stand out when you're off duty. You want to look good when you're going out, and you want to make sure you do have the money to go out. That was the biggest problem. I think a lot of guys, and I was a big proponent of this, and still into my early life. Everything needs to match, right? A lot of guys in the military would get in. You're a a young soldier. I was an airman. I was in the Air Force. Um, you're not really making a lot of money, and you take that little bit of money that you earn, you spend it into one car. You spend a lot of money on this car, so when it's time to go out, you can't go out because you can't afford it. So you know a lot of times you're in the house because you're paying for the car. And one thing a captain of mine said to me when I was in the military, and it stuck with me, when he was talking about going out and going to clubs and stuff. Um, no one knows what kind of car you have inside the club, and obviously, in this day and age, social media has changed, but back then, yeah, I mean, it made sense because as long as I had a decent car when we got outside, it was fine. Now, if you got to a car and it was all busted and disgusted, trashy, yeah, all that game you put in, inside the club was for naught, right? It didn't work out. But you know, if you look well put together, You're talking like you're supposed to be talking. You're smelling good. You're looking good. And then get out to a car that's decent. For me, I had a little SUV, and I probably could have did a little bit better. I probably should have had a car that didn't have payments. My payments were really cheap at the time, but at the same time, no payments would have been better, obviously. But I noticed a lot of guys who had some really, really nice cars, like they had, big SUVs, newer SUVs, because mine was the older one. Mine was at least 6, 7 years old at the time. It was like a little Isuzu Rodeo, but, I kept it clean at the time. These were, I mean, this is all going on 20 plus years ago. They were nicer cars. I put a little system in it. And, it was a decent looking car. I kept it clean. And I never had any complaints. I never pulled up on anybody and they were like, no, I don't want to ride with them or turn their nose up. Obviously, there were some women that might have turned their nose up at it, but those are not the type of women we're going after, right? We don't want to put ourselves in a position that we're chasing after women who only want us for the money, right? You want to weed those out. And sometimes, it might be a girl you really like. You might look at her like, oh, she's drop dead gorgeous. And she don't want to deal with you because of, XYZ. Maybe you're not her style. Maybe you're not the guy she's looking for. And we try to chase after her anyway. And I mean, that relationship is built on sand, any type of, short movement or whatnot, your finances or you can't provide her what she wants, she's out because she was never really into you in the first place. Right. And, this is why I also say invest in yourself, because when you do invest in yourself, this dude did not see that car. That's so wild. People can't drive. But when you do invest in yourself, then you can take, all your potential, and maximize it, and you can get the best of what you can get. And that brings me to my next session. Sometimes, depending on the level you are, we max out, right? As video game guys will say, you max out all your stats, right? And unfortunately, if you're in a certain bracket, even though your stats max out, somebody might still not like you. And I think sometimes guys get it twisted. They feel like, well, if I earn all the money, I can get all this girl. You might be able to sleep with her, and if that's your only goal, then you won. But if your goal is to have someone like really checking for you, like really got your back, you have to develop some other stats. Because let's say you're a millionaire, right? Let's say you put all your points into money, no points into charisma, no points into strength, no point. This might be some weird, but I'm a gamer nerd to a certain extent, right? You don't put no money into dexterity, and I'll break this down, right? Dexterity, charisma, no points into strength, no points into wisdom. You max it all out in one category, right? And now that you've actually got it, you got all your money into all your stats are into just making money. You don't have the emotional IQ. I know plenty of guys who have the bag, and they worked hard to get the bag, and they have no emotional intelligence. They don't realize when a woman's playing them. They are dating women, and women are using them just for the bag. And here's somebody else who's dealing with them and dealing with the girl that he's pursuing, and he's spending all this money on, and he's getting it for free, right? Because you chose to put all your focus on just getting money. You didn't develop your character. Man, people are really not driving today. I don't know what's going on. You decided that you weren't going to put any time into developing your physique, so you can't really master her as far as in the bedroom. So she's not being fulfilled there. Like I said, you don't have the strength of character to tell her no, right? Get dexterity. You don't know how to pivot when something's not going to. You're not quick on your toes, and you don't have any charisma, so you don't know how to talk to her, right? Your intelligence is low, so you don't know when the game's being ran on you, right? Because you focus everything on just getting the bag, just getting the bag. You felt like you can buy your way into popularity. You can buy your way into that woman's heart, and meanwhile, Mr. Joe Blow, Chad and Tyrone are getting that and probably getting some of your money too, right? So, I encourage men to be the full package and invest in yourself, and that's sometimes spending time with men who may know more than you as far as dealing with women. You don't want to. I don't want to say deal with guys or get mentors that are hateful towards women. I think sometimes we can get so caught up in the hypergamy of it all, and blaming women for how they are, and we lose sight of the fact that they're human beings, right? And they're going to make flawed decisions. All of us are essentially flawed, and the world has told them that they can have uh, the world is their oyster, right? And so all of them are expecting this fairy tale thing, and they thinking they can just pick up and play with whatever they want without any putting any effort into dealing with the guys, right? So you have a lot of content creators out there who pretty much just go on just a tirade to bash women. While some women may deserve it, right? And you do deserve to realize, like you have to be woken up and realize that women aren't princesses. This is not a Disney fairy tale. They're human just like us, right? They're flawed. They make a lot of crazy decisions, and I think the sooner you realize that you can take a woman off the pedestal, is the sooner you realize. I mean, the sooner you realize that you can move better in this game, right? But that takes time. You need to invest into developing an emotional IQ. You need to have more conversations with people outside of just trying to date, right? Because sometimes when you're just dating women and you don't have those conversations with women and trying to figure out how they move and how they operate, um, you can only see women from one aspect, and you kind of miss a lot of clues because if a woman likes you, or if a woman's trying to run game, she's going to give you just that one aspect of herself, right? She's not going to give you um, her true self, right? But if you're around women enough, and outside of the romantic, just having conversations, I don't believe in platonic friendships. I don't, but you can have a platonic associations, right? You can talk to enough women and kind of get into their head, and they'll let their guard down, and they're telling themselves 10 times out of 10, 100% of the time, women, when they're not trying to size you up, will tell them themselves, right? So if you have any female associates that whether you work with them or by any other means, and you just listen to them talk, they'll tell themselves eventually, and you can use that to your advantage in other conversations, right? Prime example: I had a friend of mine years ago. We were talking about how she chooses guys she deals with, and she was like, if she's messing with a guy, she won't cook for him, but she'll do everything else. And I thought that was odd. I was like, how are you not gonna cook for a guy, but you'll let him have all type of relations with you, right? I just thought that was weird to me, and this is actually, I don't know. I don't know if it picked up that, but just in case it didn't, how you gonna have relations with someone and you're not even gonna cook for them? She was like, well, cooking for a guy, is more intimate, versus me having, relations. I'm like, that's how some people think, right? But you would never know that. So, you're looking for signs to be like, this girl really likes me because we sexing like crazy, and she might not really like you because she ain't submitting to you, right? And women look at cooking and taking care of a guy like that as submission. And a woman that likes you will submit, versus any woman might sleep with you and may still not like you. You might be judging things off the wrong attributes. A lot of times, used to be, if you're sleeping with a woman, that indicates that she likes you, and you have some some more pressure to deal with. You have a foothold. That's the word. You have a foothold in her life. But nowadays, that don't mean nothing, right? You can be sleeping with a woman all day long, and it be nothing, right? She has no stake in you, versus a woman that might be say, baby, I brought you something to eat. You had lunch. Let me come feed you. Let me take care of you. Those women who are showing submission to your leadership are the women you women should be chasing. Just because a woman lets you crack doesn't mean that you got her all of a sudden. She might be letting you crack because she bored, and you the only source of entertainment she got. It's like someone might only be going out with you, going on dates with you because she's bored. right? Her other guys fell through. The guy she wants, she can't be with, so you're available. And the moment that the guy that she wants becomes available, she kicks you to the curb. And you're wondering, like, man, I thought everything was good. Like, I gave you a prime example. And I pick on me for example. So I was dealing with this girl, and I should have known what it was, but, learn from my mistakes. I was trying to talk to her, and then, when she seen other girls wanted to talk to me, of course, that's when she made her move. And, we began a little, I guess you'd say, a friends with benefits situation. Well, she was just lonely, right? And I was good enough looking and good enough in that department that she was willing to, for lack of a better word, waste time with me until the dude she wanted came back around. And when the dude came back around, eventually, we faded, because and at the time I looked at it like, well, I'm getting what I want from the situation. I wasn't really upset about it. I was upset that, of course, when you have a rotation of women, like, if one fades out and they're, pretty good looking and you enjoy, that aspect of it, like, dang, I can't believe, that's gone now. But, it wasn't like somebody I wanted to make part of the, a permanent part of my life. But it was eye-opening because it was like, yeah, her and the ex had fallen out. She wanted company. She wanted male company. And she was willing to spend that time with the male company with me until they got back together. And a lot of women do it. A lot of women do it. And, so, I want to end that here. We'll follow up. I want to make the video too long. Which, we'll have some more parts of this, and we'll just continue to dive deeper into, I'll use myself as an example in some other situations. But for the most part, I just wanted to, talk with you guys today. Once again, this is your man, Truth, coming back at you. If you like my content, please subscribe, leave me a like or comment. Until next time, guys.